Good evening. This is Elizabeth Wallach, K-5 elementary technology teacher for New Philadelphia City Schools. I'm here this evening to discuss a topic that should be of the utmost concern to all educators still in the field today. We need to talk about millennial learners. These would be the digital natives learning in our classrooms today of the millennial generation, meaning that they were born in 1982 till present day. And these learners they're growing up in a very unique time where technology is so easily available to them. They have ready access to cell phones, tablets, computers, the internet. They've never grown up in a world where these tools did not exist. So what are the implications for us as educators? Well, some research found by the University Council for Educational Administration says it's really our duty to prepare these students for the global economy, the global world in which they're living. We have to prepare them for workforce competitiveness while still opening up opportunities for innovation and cross-curricular and cross-cultural opportunities. President Barack Obama once said in his speech on education that a child born in Dallas is essentially going to be competing against a child born in New Delhi. And it's true. With the advancements that we're making in the world today, we're not confined to the city in which we live, the state. The boundaries are really being broken down. The biggest barriers anymore are going to be our children's skill sets. So what can we do as educators? Well, to answer that question, to begin with, we have to have a commitment to all of the children that we're educating, regardless of their race, class, their language of origin, their abilities, or even their disabilities. We have to prepare all of them for success in this world that hasn't fully developed. Not the students, the world is not fully developed, so we are preparing them for a society that isn't fully formed, which obviously presents its own challenges. But when we're thinking about what skills the students really need to hone to be competitive in this global economy, they really need to focus on mastering competencies, technological literacy, collaborative problem-solving skills, critical thinking, entrepreneurship, adaptability. That's a big one. And their ability to communicate, again, in this day and age, with all the advancements in technology, our communication skills are really on the decline. And finally, creativity. Understanding the skills that our students need, that's the easy part, recognizing what those skills are. Recognizing how we can truly inculcate those skills in our students, that's the difficult part. That's the challenge. Now, I have found some helpful advice, and it seems that almost all of the advice that I've found beneficial stems from North Carolina. The first source that I found that really provided me with some excellent ideas on teaching 21st century skills, especially at the elementary level, it comes from Dr. Debbie Powell from the University of North Carolina. And she had some brilliant strategies that really focused on inquiry-based instruction as the predominant mode, even at the elementary level. That you organize your units around this big idea and you really turn your students loose. Additionally, to foster the same idea, she encourages that students be involved in a service learning project, a real community project-based learning experience at least one time a school year. Now, that's extremely innovative, and I can't think of many schools that are already implementing those kinds of strategies. Dr. Powell goes on to suggest that the 4 C's integrated with the 3 R's aren't really enough. She goes beyond what organizations like P21 have suggested, and she says that our students really need global awareness, which I think that P21 is obviously endorsing, but she says they need financial, economic, business, and entrepreneurial literacy, civic literacy, and environmental awareness. Now, as we think about the various cultural backgrounds that any of our students come from, this could be a challenge to meet those demands while considering all of our students' experiences and prior knowledge. I mentioned that I found lots of resources that stem from North Carolina. And while I was perusing the web in search of schools that were really exemplars, that were really setting the example and paving the way for others to follow suit with best practices, I stumbled upon Dana Elementary in Hendersonville, North Carolina. And this school is really putting forth effort to help students develop problem solving skills, a collaborative mindset, and a goal oriented approach to learning. And what I found most fascinating, and the reason this school in particular grabbed my attention, is that they are making use of the Leader in Me program, which is something that New Philadelphia City Schools, where I'm employed, it's a program that we're also utilizing. And to see how this is not only serving character building skills, and I'm going to get into this a little bit here later, but to see that this program is not only enhancing our kids' character, but that really subsequently is enhancing their 21st century skills is a really exciting a notion for me. And so I want to explore this a little deeper here later on. I did have the opportunity to sit down with a good friend and colleague, Christina Dixon, yesterday, and I asked her a few questions, her thoughts on teaching digital natives, millennials, in our classrooms today, how it is that we go about preparing them for the future. So I'd like to share this conversation with you now. Hi, this is Elizabeth Wallach, and I'm sitting here in Mrs. Christina Dixon's first grade classroom at West Elementary in New Philadelphia. Christina, with all the technological advances that we've seen, especially over the past decade or so, students today have much easier access to smartphones, tablets, computers, and the internet than in previous generations. As a teacher of these digital natives, what kind of skills do you think they will need to be successful throughout their education and on into their careers?
Okay, as a first grade teacher with a mixed group of children this year, we have a lot of low levels. So what I'm looking for my kids when they come out of kindergarten is when they know their letters and they know their letter sounds, I want them to be able to get on a computer and be able to find those letters on the keyboard and recognize that the letters don't go in order of the alphabet on the keyboard, and find ways that they can manipulate the keyboard and manipulate the computer in interactive games and websites and typing, so they can get themselves ready for the technological world that we live in.
Now, as a first grade teacher, students are coming to you with nearly as clean a slate as possible. How do you feel that you can help students be prepared for this ever-advancing age of information, even at this very young age?
Okay, since they are so young, being 6 and 7 years old, I just like to give them opportunities to be exposed to different ways of learning and different types of learning. So we have center activities, and through our centers we have computers and we have hands-on activities, and we use the projector and the whiteboard and interact so that they get a little bit of everything, I guess so to say, so that they have differentiation and they have a variety of activities that they can apply to their learning.
All right, Christina. It is necessary that our young people learn to deal with disputes in a healthy, open-minded way, rather than seeing every disagreement as having a yes, no, black, white, right, wrong type answer. This is especially true when you think about the global world with the global economy that we're living in. Cultural differences factor in here. I'm sure that with the diversity in your very own classroom, you've got thoughts on this matter. Can I ask what strategies you employ?
Okay, in our class of 21 students, we have 5 students that are ESL, and it has honestly not been a problem at all this year so far. At the beginning of the year, we do set up student expectations, and we write a promise, and we tape it on the door, so every time the students come in the room and exit the room, they touch the promise, so that they are promising to follow the expectations that they set for themselves. So that's our first step in having our students work cooperatively and be able to get along and set goals for themselves. Secondly, we do ELA centers and we do math centers. And ELA in the morning, I have them grouped, and I don't have them grouped any specific way. We just change the groups. So I don't have the low kids with the low kids or the high kids with the high kids or boys and girls. We just mix them all together, and I pull the students from those groups as needed for a small group. Same thing with math. We change our math center partners once a month, so they're always working with different students. They're always working with different levels of students, different genders of students. And we do not have individual desks in first grade. We have tables. So every month we change our seating chart and we move. So the kids are always getting chances to work with different types of students. And through that, when we do group activities, they are learning to work cooperatively with all those different types of students. So far it's worked out really well, and I just hope it continues.
You'll have to keep me posted on that.
Yes, definitely will.
Thank you for your time today, Mrs. Dixon. Now, with the research I conducted, as well as my interview with Mrs. Dixon, I've come away having established several learning goals, or I guess rather teaching goals, that I would really like to try to implement before the 2013-2014 school year is over. Now, the first of these goals would be to really start using inquiry-based learning even at the elementary level. There's no reason 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders can't utilize this method, but I really would like to start seeing at our youngest learners in the K2 realm utilizing inquiry-based learning. And I think this goes back to the idea that we need to actually not just teach content, but we really need to be teaching our students how to learn, how to be learners. And having previously taught 8th grade, I've seen where we've gone wrong. And I really think that we need to start remedying this at the elementary level by teaching students how to learn. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, inquiry-based learning can present our students with big ideas, and then we as teachers can serve as the facilitators, as one of many resources. And in a technologically advanced environment, students should have access to a wealth of resources that they should investigate themselves, and they should be able to come to their own understanding. And it's not about right and wrong and yes and no. And I think Mrs. Dixon touched on that as well. And this is huge as we prepare our students to be adults in this world. They need to settle upon their own understanding after they've become informed of their own doing, that they've taken the initiative, that they've empowered themselves, and taken ownership of their own education. Inquiry-based learning will allow us to do that. Another strategy that I would like to incorporate was that of the commitment, the plan that Mrs. Dixon had her students pledge to every day as they came in and out of her room. As she mentioned, she has 5 ESL students out of 21. Now that makes for a pretty high percentage of diversity in her class, and yet she expressed that she's not experienced any real problems. Now granted, they're in first grade, but I think that she's really she's paving the way to having them interact in a healthy manner with respect to one another's cultural and other differences. And I'd like to take a cue from that and, not make the assumption that just because of their various backgrounds that they're automatically going to have disagreements or disputes, but to proactively search for ways to reach a consensus and make a pledge, make a promise to each other. And that seems to be working for her. And I'd like to try that in my classroom. Now, the last teaching strategy that I'm excited about utilizing, I'm already sort of using with my students, but I now have a different viewpoint on it, thanks to Dana Elementary in North Carolina. You see, several of the schools that I teach in my district qualified for a grant to initiate the Leader in Me program. Now, this is based off of Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Well, there's the 7 Habits of Happy Kids, and it's a leadership, it's a character building program, and we're using this in our buildings that are the most diverse and the most economically disadvantaged. Um, I, as the tech teacher, traveling from building to building, was looking for a common curriculum, something I could build upon to make use of with all K-5 students in all 5 elementary buildings. And I thought, well, the Leader in Me program is something that all students are familiar with. So it has been the basis for my lessons as I teach technology. But I had not really thought of it from the standpoint of how the Leader in Me program really, really encourages the 21st century skills. And I feel foolish for not noticing it before. Now, just to run through what those habits are. Habit number 1, be proactive. Habit number 2, begin with the end in mind. It's all about having goals, making plans to achieve your goals. And if that's not preparing our kids for this day and age, I don't know what is. Habit number 3, put first things first. Boy, do millennials need to learn that. We want instantaneous gratification, and we want what we want now. We want to do our homework while we're on Facebook. We want to listen to our music, and sometimes we have to just cut that out and focus on our priorities. So it's another skill we're building as early as kindergarten. Habit number 4, think win-win. What positive outlook that is. Habit number 5 is that you'll seek first to understand, then be understood. I don't know if there could be a more powerful message to millennial learners. Again, we tend to be a little bit of a narcissistic bunch. We're very much enveloped in our own little worlds. So to seek first to understand, especially those of other generations, and then be understood, is a phenomenal goal. Again, when you talk about a global literacy or global competency, to understand others before desiring that you be understood is selfless and will ultimately put our kids ahead of the curve in a global economy. The 6th habit is to synergize. That's right, to come together and to collaborate. Hello, 21st century skills. And last but not least, habit 7 is sharpen the saw, which is really about staying physically active. You can't just hone the mental capacity. Physically, we all need to be well versed. And I just am so excited to have stumbled upon a school that's utilizing materials that I already have access to, but they're employing them in a way that makes such greater meaning than I realized they had the potential to do. And so I don't want to just talk about the 7 habits now. I really want to implore the 7 habits while also combining them with inquiry-based learning and a pledge to work together and respect one another and our differences. And if we begin this program as early as the kindergarten level, by the time our 5th graders are leaving elementary school, they will be so far ahead of the curve. I'm very excited to start utilizing these methods in my own classroom in my district to prepare our millennial learners for global competency. Thank you.